Hi everybody, LG here, and welcome to r/WeddingShaming. This one's from user Quarantine Thoughts. Mother-in-law and her wedding thing. I'm the one who has the mother-in-law who has a compulsion to wear inappropriate things to other people's weddings for attention. The first time I heard about mother-in-law's thing of dressing to outshine brides at their own wedding was the very first time I met her, and was still in the early dating stage with my now husband. It had not been long after her first, male, child got married, and she asked me if I wanted to see photos of the wedding. She pulls out this large homemade photo album, and there she was on the album cover, wearing a white dress, borderline gown. I don't know how to call it, it was like a tea-lengthy lacy white dress, with her son, instead of a photo of the groom with the bride. She saw my face and laughed about how it's always been her thing to outshine the bride, and she thinks people get a kick out of it. I'm fairly certain they don't. Her daughter piped up that she better not do that when she gets married, and mother-in-law just laughs. Mother-in-law and father-in-law laugh about the other times she's pulled this, at her own sister's wedding as well as father-in-law's brother's wedding. They even joke how they're surprised they still get invited to weddings. This is coming from two people who consider themselves to be the most religious, humble, and caring people of everyone they know. Oh, the irony. A couple of years later, we attend a wedding where mother-in-law is a guest as well. She walked in late to the ceremony wearing a bedazzled blue gown that looked appropriate for a performer on the Vegas Strip for a Sunday afternoon wedding. At least it wasn't white. Of course, everyone was looking at her, but not in an admiration kind of way, but in a what the F kind of way. She took everyone's looks to be jealousy if it came from a woman, and lust if it came from a man. She made a point to joke that if all eyes weren't on her at someone else's wedding, she failed. Then there's her daughter's wedding, where the most incidents occurred. Her daughter made her promise not to pull that crap at her wedding, and after a lot of discussion, her mother agreed to wear a mother of the bride dress that they both agreed on. Day of wedding, while sister-in-law is getting ready, in walks mother-in-law in basically a wedding gown. It was a white, full-length dress with a small train. Sister-in-law has a meltdown, tries to make her change clothes. Mother-in-law refuses. Somehow makes herself the victim in this situation, and sister-in-law is made to concede. Mother-in-law walked into the chapel right before the bride and her father, and right after the bridesmaids, as if it was her wedding. She then took her seat in the front row. Is this a thing? I've attended and been in many weddings, but I have never seen a mother of the bride do this. I've seen mother of the bride walk the bride down the aisle, but never walked before her. After the ceremony, you could see how upset sister-in-law is, but her father tries to smooth things over, saying, "You know how your mother is, you need to get over it." Mother-in-law's behavior was mostly normal beyond that. Didn't really cause any scenes during the reception, other than insisting on a mother-in-law groom dance. Is that also even a thing? And also making a toast which turned into a long, rambling speech of what an amazing mother she is, and nothing about the bride and groom outside of subtle backhanded compliments to them. She also made a bit of drama with her hypochondria. I feel bad for my sister-in-law, but full disclosure, she is a pretty awful person too. She definitely takes after her mother and has done her fair share of attention seeking at other people's expense, as well as other run-of-the-mill horrible people stuff like repeatedly abandoning animals and stealing from her family. But she still didn't deserve what her mother pulled at her wedding. Sister-in-law ended up divorced less than a year later and is now married to some other guy after knowing him for only 4 months. Her first courtship was under a year of dating as well. They did a courthouse thing and mother-in-law attended wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. What the F, right? Opie's edit. My husband and I eloped, and we never heard the end of it. How we cheated mother-in-law out of her chance to do her thing. Oh wow, OP, can you help me spell narcissistic nut job? Cause this woman takes the cake, she takes the whole bakery. I've read stories of horrible mother-in-laws that try to outshine their daughter-in-law for the wedding, right? But this woman, she's just beyond nuts and self-centered and absorbed, and her husband celebrates this. What is up with these people? Making it her thing to outshine every bride, and if she doesn't get to do it, she failed? I'm honestly speechless. I don't know what else to say because it's too much. My brain is overwhelmed with how crazy this person sounds. So to end this commentary, I'm gonna say, Opie, I loved your edit. That was the best solution to deal with your mother-in-law. So what do you guys think about this one? While you think about it, let's continue to the next story. This one's from user Hot-Blooded. Don't propose at other people's weddings. So, here we go. There's key players in this story. Myself, female 24, Debbie Drama, Mrs. Drama, her mom, Betty the bride, Gary the groom, and groom's dad. Okay, so the story starts in middle school. Myself, Betty, and Debbie were close friends. Then, around summer before 8th grade, her and I have a bad falling out. Then, right before freshman year, Debbie and Betty develop a catty relationship. 1 month they're talking, next month they're not talking. This went on till about junior year, I believe, when they finally ended their friendship. Around senior year, Mrs. Drama and groom's dad got married. He had a son who was a college sophomore and lived away at school named Gary. Fast forward a couple years, Gary and Betty meet away at school. Second Christmas as a couple, Gary brings Betty home to meet the family. And guess who's there but Debbie Drama? Betty and Debbie play nice. A few years down the line, Betty and Gary get engaged but want to wait till Betty finishes school. She finishes and graduates and finds out she's pregnant. They plan an awesome wedding. Gary has 5 groomsmen, she has 4, so Mrs. Drama suggests making Debbie a bridesmaid. Jokingly, but there was an implication. So Betty does it as a sign on good faith to her new in-laws. Her sister, who is 12 years older than her, was the maid of honor, and not quite the partying type, so the rest of us 4 decided to take on the responsibility of planning the bridal shower and bachelorette party. We planned a beautiful bridal shower in which Debbie took on little to no responsibility. Debbie is a bartender and showed up late and hungover to the bridal shower. Typical Debbie. We all agreed that instead of a raucous weekend trip for her bachelorette party like the boys were doing, we'd go to brunch, then go to the spa, after in which the bride volunteered to be the designated driver. Then plan an epic girls trip after baby was born. Okay, cool. Spa brunch day comes and we get up, get dressed, go to brunch at this ritzy restaurant for brunch. Definitely more than your typical casual mom and pop brunch or your rowdy college brunch. This restaurant had a good reputation. Debbie showed up in yoga pants and an athletic t-shirt. Strike 1. Betty had agreed to drive so we could have a couple drinks. It was 2-for-1 bottles of champagne. Debbie ordered a whole bottle of champagne for herself to drink and then was acting even more inappropriate as she got drunker. At one point, she asked Betty how the sex was and how her stepbrother's package looked and made a comment about how Betty should be happy that she never tried the stepsister smut thing on Gary. Strike 2! Then, Betty called her out on how effing creepy she was being and that she couldn't go to the spa with us. Debbie had a tantrum in the middle of this nice restaurant and our party got asked to leave. Debbie's boyfriend picked her up. That's the last of Debbie for a while. It's time for the wedding weekend. We all go to the venue. Gorgeous location. B&B right by the vineyard where the location was taking place. The entire weekend was courtesy of Betty and Gary. The only thing we paid for was like dinner and drinks, aside for the rehearsal dinner that they paid for. So it's safe to say they shelled out beaucoup bucks for this because it's bride's mom and dad, both sets of groom's mom and dad, all 10 of us and their +1, minus 1 who didn't bring a +1. Friday we settle in and go out to dinner. It's a wine pairing dinner in a cute area. Saturday we do a little wine tour, stomp some grapes, yada yada. Both of these were scenic and beautiful. So fast forward to the day of the wedding. The prep and everything go off without a hitch. There's the ceremony, cocktail hours, dinner, then speeches. Best man, maid of honor makes speeches. Bride's mom makes speech. Groom's mom makes a speech. Then Debbie's douche grabs mic. Everyone looks confused. Pops the question. She dramatically says yes. Awkward pause. After speeches, bride has a pow-pow in which she tells us she's pissed at Debbie and douche. DJ asks us if they're about to cut the cake. She says yes, but they have to find the photographer. Turns out, he's outside doing a little photo shoot with Debbie and Debbie's boyfriend. She was livid, an angry pregnant rage ball. She ripped Debbie and her boyfriend a new a-hole. Debbie's response was, "You know, if you were a true friend and not a selfish see you next Tuesday, if you know what I mean, then you'd be flattered and proud that we all got to share this day." Gary Groom put his foot down and told them to leave right away. Huge tantrum, and she leaves. The bachelor getaway got cancelled due to COVID. Debbie and bride still have not spoken since. Well, I'm not surprised they haven't spoken. I mean, honestly, like the title says, don't propose at other people's weddings, minus the clapping, because I don't like that. And I think that's all there's to say, really. It's pretty simple. Just don't do it. Anyways, on that note, let's move on to another post. This one's from user TeddyWestside5. My cousin is wanting another wedding because it's all our fault we let her get married in a dress that was too small. My cousin got married 2 years ago. She ordered her dress on the smaller side, saying how she was going to lose all the weight to look perfect in it. Well, she didn't lose weight. In fact, she gained more weight. Somehow, she managed to still be able to squeeze into her dress, but you could tell it was too small. We encouraged her and tried to motivate her to lose the weight for the dress at her instance. But when we did, she told us to get lost, mind our own business, and stop fat shaming her. Literally, we were doing what she asked us to do. Apparently, she's so upset over her dress in 3 of her wedding photos that she has announced she's planning a whole new wedding. She appreciates everyone's cooperation during this time, as we, as a whole family, will be the ones paying for it, or volunteer all of our free time to get it together, as it was our fault for not pushing her harder and letting her look the way she did. This is the first time we have all heard about her being upset over anything. She was also told in very colorful language that we will not be throwing a whole new wedding over 3 bad angled photos. Some add-ons because I don't want to keep answering the same questions over and over that I answered. 1. Photoshop. I am a photographer and I suggested altering the photos for her or doing a photo session for free. She said no, that it's not authentic. Well, neither is a second wedding. 2. We did tell her no, and we have put the big foot down, and no one is budging on doing this. We have offered many reasonable suggestions and she refused them all. That's on her, just like it was on her to lose weight. 3. I don't consider her to be fat. She purposely ordered the dress a smaller size and she had it tailored to that size. We all told her she needed to get it altered just a bit, and she said no, she can fit into it and that it's giving her weight loss goals. 4. Does she have a mental illness? I'm half torn between yes and no. She's just in a spoiled mentality. Does she need attention? Probably. 5. How's the marriage? I mean, it seems Instagram perfect and they act that way in front of everyone. We all think it's good, but we all also know that we don't know what happens behind the scenes. Yeah, OP, your cousin is weird. I mean, 3 photos. 3 photos. That's all it took to trigger her and make her want another wedding and ask you all, well, not ask you, demand that you all pay for it because you didn't push her enough to lose weight? Yeah, she's nuts, or there's something really weird going on in the background. For me, there's 2 simple solutions that would probably work, but that's cause I'm a really practical guy, or I try to be. One is the first one that you mentioned, OP, which is Photoshop. Just have them altered. Like, honestly, who cares? And if that bothers you and you just can't do it, well then there's option number 2. Throw away the pictures and delete the digital copies. Secret option number 3 wouldn't have worked out because time machines haven't been invented yet, so sorry. What do you guys think? What solution would you offer the bride so that she doesn't want to throw another wedding, which nobody's going to do for her? Let me know in the comment section, and let's move on to another post. This one's from user Just Gotta Keep Dugging. The only wedding I know that made a profit. This happened in 2014, but still rules as the tackiest wedding I've been to. My partner's brother got engaged at Christmas and decided on an Easter wedding date. No big deal, except he and his wife hadn't exactly been saving for a wedding, not usual in our culture for parents to pay, and decided on a guest list of 200+ people. My partner's family therefore had to rally around and were responsible for catering the wedding. This meant all the aunties and uncles cooking until the wee hours of the day of the wedding. Her family did not help with this at all. My partner's parent paid his mom's staff from work to act as waitstaff. My partner's siblings paid for the photographer and videographer, suits, etc. We had to put in a set sum of money, not asked, but told, which was quite a large amount, especially for us having to travel. We lived in another country away from his family, for good reason. Side drama. 3 weeks before the wedding, partner's grandfather dies suddenly, so we had to fork out more money for him to travel to another different country for the funeral. This was a massive unexpected costs, so he told his brother we couldn't contribute as much to his wedding, and he was pissed. The day before the wedding, I'm told I'm the designated bartender. Fine, whatever, as long as I can drink and serve. All family need to go to the school hall, where reception will be, to set up. I refuse to because we only arrived in the country the day before. I'm tired and want to rest. Partner goes and gets back very, very late. Apparently, bride's family helped to set up, but left quite early to go and rest before the big day. On the day of the wedding, my partner's family have to set up the ceremony, meaning by the time the ceremony starts, his sister and a few cousins who set up miss half of it as they had to go home for a shower. The brothers couldn't help because they were in the line. I leave the ceremony to go to the reception venue to see how my bar is set up. When I arrive, the table chart is in fact an A4 printout given to partner's aunt, who is stressing about where to sit 200+ people when the tables were not in any logical order and seats not labeled. I stop to help her direct traffic as everyone comes pouring in. My bar is actually a table in the back corner of the hall. There is a couple of bags of ice for boxes and boxes of beer and wine. Some genius put all the red wine on ice and left the beer and white wine out, so it is all nicely warm. I have to drive out to buy more ice and fix everything up. There is no bottle opener and of course no twist top beer bottles, so I had to use a spoon as a makeshift opener. I am also told that no alcohol is to be served until a certain point in speeches, about 2 hours after reception starts. In the meantime, I have 2 and 2 liter bottles or juice and 5 and 6 bottles of Coke and Sprite for 200 guests. It lasted about 5 minutes. I had to go to the supermarket to buy drink mix-up sachets, these are 20c each, and mix these in front of all the guests. There is no food or snacks or anything for the guests waiting for the bridal party to arrive, which took about 2 hours, so people are hungry and thirsty because it was hot as hell. In the end, I got so drunk with my sister-in-law because the wedding was so crap and we were treated like slaves. We didn't even get to eat because, as the help, we were last on the table list and there was literally no food left by then. At the end of the night, because I wasn't allowed to serve drinks until so late, not many were drinking and there was a ridiculous amount of booze left. I ended up handing out cases of wine and beer to anyone and everyone, and there was still enough left for the next 2 months of parties. As family, we also had to clean up the hall and do the dishes. Not the bride's family though. The lazy sods did nothing to help at all and simply left. A final slap in the face was my partner's family had prepared an awesome musical item, very talented musical family, which they practiced for months, and they got to play it while cleanup was going on, and pretty much every guest except those helping had left. Bonus: they actually made several thousands of dollars profit on the wedding from the 200 plus guests who turned up. Oi, OP, your story stressed me out just by reading it. In my opinion, there's one thing that's helping out family within your means and however you can, and then there's just simple abuse. And this wedding sounds like the bride and groom took advantage of every possible family member and friend they could. Maybe you're just too nice, OP. I have to say, in the community comments they do point out that the bride's family doesn't sound like they were being lazy, they just didn't want to get swindled into working for free. So it's that time of the video again where I ask you that if you liked it, go ahead and click like, and of course don't forget to subscribe. Please join our community and let's make it grow even more. If you want to engage with the community, you can always join us in the Discord server. There's a link in the description along with other links that you might find interesting. And finally, thanks so much for watching the video, I really appreciate it. And having said all that, I will see you in the next video.